Hello and welcome to my porch. My name is Tammy and I'm so glad that you're here to join me. Today we are making these finger knit pumpkins. The tools you're going to need, literally just a pair of scissors and your fingers. And of course you'll need a skein of super chunky yarn. I use Yarn Bee Eternal Bliss. Today I'm going to be using this green variegated. It works up a really pretty pumpkin. So let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start out with a length of about 10 inches. That's going to be our tail. We need that. Don't start it out way down here because you need that length for something we're going to do later. It's going to close up the bottom of our pumpkin. So you're going to start out with about 10 inches. For those that knit or crochet, you already know how to do a slip knot. But for those that do not, you're just going to hold your yarn in your hand and wrap it around your two fingers to where it crosses over itself. So you've got this awareness ribbon basically. And you're going to take that and push it through the bottom and pull it tight. So you have your slip knot. Now you want your slip knot to be about the size of your two fingers. You want your two fingers to comfortably go inside of that loop, but you don't want to be tight and you don't want to be too loose. So just comfortable. Now you're going to take your working yarn, not your tail. You're going to leave your tail over here. Now I'm right-handed, so I leave the tail on the left. So I'm using my working yarn from the right. You're just going to push that through your loop, grab a hold of it with your other fingers, and pull it through. Now you see my hand twist. That's just from so I can lay the chain flat as I'm making these chain loops. So just whatever direction you're twisting as you pull that yarn through, make sure you're consistent in going the same direction. If you're left-handed, you may be twisting the other way. So you're going to take your working yarn, go back through. So we now have 1, 2, 3. We want to have 7 chains. 4, 5, 6, 7, and that should be enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, we need one more because that's our loop, not a chain. Now it's a chain, and this is our loop. And that's how you count it too. You just look for the braid edge where it changes colors. Like with this one, with the variegated, it makes it a little bit easier. But as you're working, you'll see those twists. So you can count each stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we've got a loop. So now we're going to flip that to where your working yarn is up. We're going to take the tail and we're going to bring it up to that loop and push it through. You're going to bring it all the way through. And then bring that loop up to your first stitch and pull your working yarn so that it kind of holds that tail where it needs to be. So now we have our working yarn on top, our tail on the bottom. And you've got this little ring. So now we're going to continue on going this way. Again, if you are left-handed, you may want to go the other way. But we are working to the left as right-handers. You're going to find that first loop or that first stitch. And actually that's not it, it's right here. You take that first stitch. It's right on the top. You don't want to go through 2 pieces of yarn. You only want to go through that very top stitch. You're going to take your working yarn and push it through just like that. You want each loop, again, to be 2 finger lengths. We're going to go to the next stitch and push that yarn through. So we now have 2 loops in our chain. Go to the next one. And we made 7 chains, so we want 7 stitches. 4, 5, 6, and there's our tail, which is going to tell us this is going to be the last stitch of our row. 7. So now we have, again, this is our working yarn, this is our tail. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that was our first row. We're going to continue around. We're going to need about 5 or 6 rows. So we're going to go back, we're going to push, working from the inside out. You're going to push that yarn through that first loop, making sure that you're not making it too big or too small. And then make sure you're pulling these loops over to where your working yarn is. And I'll show you why. If you leave it just as it is like this, you're going to not really be thinking about it much. When you pull that yarn through, you've got your loop, but now you have this extra length in between the 2 stitches. And that's going to cause you to think that maybe you have an extra stitch layer later, and it'll just mess you up. And it'll also create holes in your pumpkin later. You won't be able to, you'll have to go through and stitch up holes that were left by this. So we're not going to do that. We'll pull that back through. So you pull that loop over to your working yarn, just like that, and then you pull it through. We're going to keep going. Pull it over, push it through, pull it over, push it through, pull it over, push it through, pull it over, push it through. And where's our tail? Here's our tail, so that means this is our last stitch. Push it through, and we should now have 7 more loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So that's our second row. We're going to do this 3 more times. Okay, I'm just going to go on through. If you're getting stuck or you need to go back, you can always pause the video and go back. And the good thing about these pumpkins, they're small, so if you have to undo your work because you messed up somewhere, you can it doesn't take long at all. So again, we're going to do 3 more rows at least, maybe 4. Okay, there's my tail, so that means that's my last stitch. So that's row 3. This is going to be row 4. And you just keep working in the round like that. You don't have to make an extra. I know some of you who crochet or knit, when you're working on your projects, a lot of times you get the end of a row and you have to chain 1 or 2 or do a single crochet, whatever. You don't have to do that with this. You just keep working in the round. We just passed up our tail, which means we're now on our 5th row. And again, see how far away that is? Make sure you're pulling your loops over to your working yarn. And here's our tail. So this is our last stitch. So that's 5 rows. Check and make sure we still have 7. Get that out of the way. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So we have 5 rows of 7 stitches. And this is what it looks like when you lay it down. So if you can imagine stuffing it, I think maybe we might want to have 1 more row. So we're going to go ahead and add 1 more row. So this was 7 chains or stitches, and This now makes 6 rows. So 7, 6. I think 7 and 7 would probably be a little bit too tall. However, there are a lot of pumpkins out there that are tall, aren't there? More oblong than round. So, however you do yours, it's okay. You do not have to do exactly the same amount of stitches I'm doing. If you want your pumpkin to be bigger, of course you want to go bigger. There's my, oh, I just passed it up, didn't I? So I'm already starting 7th row. I don't want 7 rows on mine. So I'm going to pull that out. So there. Okay. So now we have 6 rows of 7 stitches. So I'm going to stop there. We're going to turn this upside down. Here's our tail, and this is the initial chain that we started. So we're going to take this tail, we want to close this up. We don't want a hole there. So we're going to put our finger through the very top stitch of our chain. We're going to take the end of our yarn, and from the outside going in, you're going to pull the yarn all the way through. You're not making a loop this time. You're just pulling it through. We're making a drawstring like you have on a trash bag. Find that next chain or stitch and push it through. The mosquitoes are out. I just got a bit on my face. Next stitch. Of course, you should have 7 stitches, so we should be doing this 7 times. This is 3, 4, 5, 6, and is our last one, 7. Okay, we've got that all. Now we're just going to pull. Now this is pretty strong yarn, but it does break if you pull too hard. So we're just going to gently, but well, gently but sternly doesn't really make much sense, does it? Firmly, even firmly, but just being cautious of how the tension you have on your yarn. Sometimes this yarn will stick on itself. It won't slide very well. This this fluffy yarn, it slides pretty well. So if you put your hand over the top as you're pulling, you'll feel it underneath your hand. So you'll know that it's closing up. So now our hole is closed up. You can't see the hole. I'm going to go ahead and stick my finger through there because right there's our hole. We're going to stick the end of our tail right through that hole and pull it through, just like so. So now there is no more hole in the bottom of our pumpkin. We're going to turn that back over and you can see where that's at. And we're just going to tie it off down there at the base. And you might want to tie it off twice if you've got super soft yarn. And I do. I love working with this yarn. And then you're just going to stick the rest of that tail down inside. No need to cut it off. It's going to help stuff your pumpkin. All right, so now with the working yarn, we're going to cut off about 10 inches. We'll leave ourselves about 10 inches to work with, and we're going to cut it off. So we don't need any more yarn. Now we're going to take that tail. Now on the bottom we went from the outside in. When we're on the top, we're going to go from the inside out. But before we do that, we need to stuff our pumpkin. Now you can use polyfill, you can use whatever you want to use, but honestly what I use is shopping bags. If you're anything like me, you have a whole bunch of those plastic shopping bags. I feel guilty throwing them away because I hear all these stories about how our fish and our seas and oceans get caught up in them and they're not biodegradable and blah, blah, blah. So I just take my bag and I make sure it's not like wadded up too much, because you know when you stuff them, when you come home from the grocery store and you stuff them down in there, they're all wadded up. But so I try to unwad them and then just kind of in a fluffy way, I don't know how to describe that, I just ball it up a little bit and push it down inside. And now for this size pumpkin, it's probably going to take, I don't know, 4 bags, about 4 bags, I think. That's 2. Now you can see our pumpkin starting to form. There's 3. And I'm sorry for the crumpling in the camera. It's probably loud. Okay, so I'm going to put a 4th one in there, but I'm not going to do that just yet. First, oops, I just dropped one of my pumpkins. First, I'm going to take our yarn that we have cut off. And you see where it's coming from. Here's the stitch. I'm going to put my pinky through there so that I don't lose that stitch. Because sometimes when you're pulling and tugging, you'll pull that right out, so you'll lose your stitch. I put my finger in there so that I don't lose it. And then you're going to take the next stitch, and from the inside pushing out, you're going to put your tail through that first loop, and you're going to pull it through. You're not making another loop, you're pulling it through. And you go to the next one, from the inside, push it through to the outside, all the way through. And you keep going like that. Now I get to the 3rd one, and I can let go of that because I'm not going to pull that out now that this is all woven through. So from the inside, push it through to the outside. And again, you should have 7 because we made 7 stitches to begin with. And I lost count of what that is. I think it was 5, 6, and here's our 7th one, our last one. I'll pull that through. Now, I am going to, again, you're holding onto it with your hand, you will feel it, and it keeps it from going all over the place. Oh, but before we totally close it up, I still need one more bag. Let me put another bag in there. I mean, I probably could stop there, but it's not as firm as I'd like it to be. I like it to be a little more firm. You can do it how you want though. So I'm gonna put one more in. Now with these pumpkins, I actually put sachets of pumpkin spice that I got from Hobby Lobby down inside. And then I used cinnamon sticks for the stem. So these pumpkins smell wonderful. They smell so good. You don't have to do that, but if you've got it available, if you got cloves or cinnamon or pumpkin spice, you can always put it in a little sachet and stuff it down inside. So we're just going to pull that tight, and got that hole all closed up. So there's our bottom, there's our top, and right there's our hole. So I'm going to tie that off as close to the pumpkin as I can, because I don't want to knot like way up here. I'll tie it off as close as I can to the pumpkin, and then I'm going to stuff that down through that hole that I closed up. And there's our pumpkin. I really like how this variegated yarn works into this beautiful, I really like it. I think that's a beautiful pumpkin. Okay, so I don't have my other supplies with me, but as you can see, well, we'll use this one right here. So you can use hot glue. You know, if you got a hot glue gun and you want to use that, you can. But these holes seriously are so small that they will hold. This is just the cinnamon stick. For the ribbon, I'm terrible at making ribbons, so I cheat. I just loop it around, and then I use a Q-tip, not a Q-tip, a pipe cleaner to tie it off. I just make it however long I want it to be. And that gives me something to stick down into that top of that top hole. So I'm just going to use my cinnamon stick and push it down through that hole. And then I'm going to take my ribbon stem, push that down through. Just like that. And then of course you can always do whatever you want. If you want to go outside in your yard, you don't have to go buy these artificial things. You can go out and just look around your yard, find some leaves. The leaves are turning colors now. They're starting to fall from the trees. Everything is getting so beautiful outside. I love fall. It smells good. It's cool. It's not cold and it's not hot. It's just perfect. I love fall. So anyway, go out in your yard, find some sticks to use for your stems, or you can use, like I did, the cinnamon sticks. I also got those at Hobby Lobby if you need to know where to get them. And I hope that you enjoyed making this pumpkin with me. I hope you actually did make a pumpkin and not just watch me, because once you make one, you're going to want to make several. Now, this one we did 7 stitches, 6 rows. This one was 10 stitches and 7 rows. And of course you can go bigger if you want. You can go as big as you want or as small as you want. I had a smaller one out here, but I don't know what I did with it. And here's our white one. It fell on my porch. I am actually on my porch, so hence the name Porch Light Crafts. So this is my new pastime. I love doing these little pumpkins. I hope you do too. And until next time, I hope you all have a wonderful and blessed evening.